Thought we would go ahead and touch on before we end the show today and talk about what's going on in the aftermath of everything that came out with AEW All Out. It should have just been like AEW Fallout because there's a lot of fallout that comes from that show. The injury suffered by CM Punk, as we've learned in the coming days after that. So he had surgery on a torn triceps. And also the fact that there were a lot of suspensions supposedly handed down and also stripped titles that were actually stripped away by AEW President Tony Khan. So here today to follow up on that is John Orlando from the PVD Cast coming right back. Thank you so much, my friend. I thought everything would be a little bit laid out, a little bit smoother, a little bit, as far as dealt with accordingly. But nope, AEW just wanted to rush right into it. They stripped the titles of the trio titles from the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, the ones that they just won the other day. They're not redoing a tournament for it. They just set up a match as far as between two teams and not just say go to it, which again defies the logic because you just had a tournament. So you're denying all those other teams in the tournament a chance to go ahead and get that title. But you're doing a tournament for the singles title because you stripped CM Punk for his actions and also the fact that he's going into surgery for a torn triceps right after that. Just the logic on what they're doing now doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Not to mention, I have to say it, that world title tournament is kind of weak.
Absolutely. Where is Wardlow? Who are they been trying to? Yeah, is he now persona non grata because MJF is back? Where's Samoa Joe? He's a title holder in Ring of Honor. Where's your Ring of Honor title holder?
Yes.
Formerly known as Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli. Are they just all kicked to the side? I understand when you put things up there in these tournaments, you showcase pretty much who you want to be pushing at that point in time. It's usually a showcase. When companies do this, it's usually a showcase of like, okay, we're going to bracket off the best wrestlers that we have in the company, have them compete against each other. I understand why MJF, who doesn't want to partake in it because he's the number one contender, why he doesn't want to do it. But you're right. It defies all logic why you're not getting more of these top AEW individuals involved.
Absolutely. And no disrespect to Darby Allin or Sammy Guevara, but what have they done recently? Besides Sammy Guevara getting into an altercation with Eddie Kingston and getting married, he hasn't been on TV a lot.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Since they're the younger stars of AEW, but they have been there since the early days of the promotion. They're still thought of, this showcases it, that they're still thought of as two of the brightest stars of AEW at the present time. I think there's two guys that they still want to go ahead and give a push. I would put Orange Cassidy in that and Wardlow in that category, but right below, obviously, because they didn't get involved in the tournament. But I just think they're two individuals that are based in the fact that they are just not going to give up on them. They're going to go ahead and push them as the young stars. That's why they bracket them off together as a showcase for their talents.
Well, I still think that they probably could have done something a little bit more creative with this situation.
Oh, I agree.
And getting the title to somebody that, because I don't want to see Jericho as, what did they say? He's a 7-time or 8-time world champion. I don't want to see that.
He gets a bye. Why does he get a bye?
Absolutely. There should be no buys. You should plug in Claudio Castagnoli in one of those buys, and you should plug in a Wardlow in that other buy.
Yeah. What does that leave? They were so high on him or pushing him to the moon, and he destroyed MGF in a decision I really didn't think was going to be very warranted or going, those are the kind of things that come back to haunt you, I think. But regardless, the company is very high on Wardlow, yet for some reason they don't go ahead and put him in this position to go ahead at least be in the tournament.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. I don't know what you do with the 6-man titles or the trios titles. Excuse
Well,
me.
they already did. I mean,
Well, no, right. No, but I mean, prior to that, they were in a really awkward spot because you're absolutely right, Gerald. They just crowned champions, and I also agree with you. You just pick two random teams and send them in there, best friends in Orange Cassidy and Death Triangle. And uh, what about the Dark Order? And Adam Page, do they not count?
weren't they the other finalists in that tournament?
Yeah. So what happened to them? I know you can't do Osprey and Aussie Open because they're gone. I understand that, but hey, you like wacky, high octane, maybe not really psychologically sound types of matches. AEW, here you go. You could have had some type of 6-man scramble match. That would be a that might be a little bit problematic to call if you're a commentator or to watch if you're a fan. But why not do something wacky like that? Or hey, the winner of Death Triangle and best friends in Orange Cassidy get to take on the Dark Order. Something that could have made a little better sense than we just randomly picked these two teams and threw them in here.
Yeah, it just really doesn't make sense of what AEW is trying to do at the times. I mean, they again started out with a lot of promise. They still have a lot of promise, but trying to keep things in order. And I understand that that disciplinary things have to go down after what was said and done as far as the fight backstage, the comments that were made, the whole 9 yards as far as what happened after the events of All Out. But to have this done so dramatically when you have more weeks of television that you could have drawn this out for was kind of curious. I just think it was a knee jerk reaction. Suspending the individuals involved, especially the fact that their executive vice president's involved, is a good move. I think
Yeah.
suspending, because it's obviously was a very bad look, a very embarrassing look for the fight backstage between CM Punk, Ace Steel, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. Okay, that brawl that took place behind the scenes, out of camera shot, which is probably the worst part about it, that we can get to see it, and that just the fact that that you do lay down disciplinary action, that's fine. And then that scene, that whole suspension and stripping of the titles, that's fine. But having this knee jerk reaction to having to go ahead and put something out right away, I think that's something that the company will regret.
I agree with you on that. I think that they definitely will regret this in the future. Likewise, I think that the suspensions are necessary. I think that the stripping of the titles was apropos. I said earlier that I wasn't 100% convinced that this was a shoot, that it might be a little bit of a work. Maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe it is a little more of a shoot than what I thought it was, especially with the suspensions now coming down, because that's a real deal. That stripping the titles was a big deal in my eyes. Um, my question is, where do you go now when they all return? Is CM Punk going to be fired? Is the Kenny Omega and the Bucks, are they going to face any further disciplinary action? That's the question. Where do you go when all of this in a week or so? In fact, I don't even know. Do you know how long are they suspended for?
No, nobody's given any type of
Okay.
indication about how long this happens. Although to CM Punk, it really doesn't matter whether how long he is actually serving a suspension, because again, he did a tope in the match, the unification. Well, actually, it wasn't unification in the world title match at All Out against John Moxley. He did a tope over the top rope, and I guess suffered a torn triceps in that process. So he would necessitate surgery. Now, if that's the case, he's going to be out months anyway. So really, if unless he's fired, which I think would probably be a stupid move because it has garnered you so much publicity, it's just that would be the coup de grace on dumb moves, especially the fact that he's your number one draw and the fact that he is the most solidifying face for your organization right now.
And not to mention, if you get fired while you're injured, how does that make you look as a company?
Yeah, it also
I
sets you up
mean,
for legal action.
Right, absolutely. Set you up for legal action in the court of public opinion that makes you look like a complete scuzzball if you are AEW, the corporation that has fired a man when he's injured, when he's down. He injured himself, while performing for your company, you know. But
And how was the fight started? Was the fight started
right.
by the EVPs because they didn't like the words? Was the fight started by the Young Bucks and Omega? Or was it started by a Steel and CM Punk? I mean, that's going to be up for debate as well.
And I'll throw this out here too. Is there also the possibility that this is what, for lack of a better term, is the first um, shockwave of maybe some other people coming out with some stories about how things are run in AEW?
Well, I mean, we're starting to see it. The backstage, meetings that they're having, the overtures by WWE reportedly to several AEW wrestlers, Malachi Black and his unhappiness as far as what he wants to go ahead and do is with his contract and try and get out of his contract with AEW. It's a lot of interesting things going down, don't you think?
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think you can add FTR to that list of people who are not very happy because rumors was they were not happy about not being in the video game, as you mentioned before. And you're gonna start seeing that.
Why wasn't
Uh,
Wardlow and FTR part of part of the trios? I mean, should be
yeah,
highlighting them as far as a top team in the trios tournament, or maybe
absolutely.
in the trios title rematch. The title match that was done, the redo per se on Wednesday night. Just very curious, absolutely very curious.
Well, bottom line is they have to right the ship. The
Mm-hmm.
AEW has to. They have to fix this if they want to continue. And we kind of even look. This is how impactful this has been. This is all we could talk about. We've totally not even acknowledged that MJF come back, and he's
Mm-hmm.
the classic. Dare I say, I hate to use the Michael Cole term, vintage MJF with his promo, which was amazing, and even while interrupted by Moxley, still kind of an
And,
amazing promo.
amazing promo. I did see it. It's one of the best of the year. Absolutely. I do. I am glad that he was not part of the entourage. Did not come out with him. It was just him,
Yes,
and that
yes,
I think is best if it just stays him as a character. I know Moxley didn't keep up with him word for word, and his promo wasn't quite as good or even on the level that MJF was, but he was at least bouncing something off of him as far as the sounding board. But this is the time I think that you and I have been hoping for as far as a company really getting 100% behind MJF. I know
hmm
that he is utilizing his free agent status in 2024 as far as part of the worked shoot storyline, which is making it much more intriguing. I love the fact that he always puts in his best friend Cody Rhodes, as part of those promos. Somewhere Cody Rhodes is just either laughing, smiling, or he's probably just eating this all up as far as enjoying it from where he's at. But yeah, I mean, this is the time that you and I have been hoping for. I think it almost comes a year too late that MJF is now being, or at least as right now, should be at the forefront of what AEW is doing going forward.
absolutely, 100%, absolutely. Although you invoke the name of Cody Rhodes, and I would love to be a fly on the wall at his house to hear his comments about all of this that went on at All Out. I would love to hear what he thinks because I think Cody Rhodes kind of he would be one of those people if he was. I don't think he's that type of guy, but I think if he was one of those kind of kiss and tell guys, if you will, he'd be the first one to go, well, let me tell you a story that I had, about a meeting with Tony and blah 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 blah.
I think the best thing would be to do is to get him on Busted Open Radio. I don't think he would
Yes.
do it on any of the WWE shows,
Oh
but
no.
Busted Open Radio, if you were to ask him on that, he would give those sly, politically correct, yet underlying meaning answers that would probably get a lot of people talking.
Right. Absolutely. Because he's smooth. CM Punk's not. Let's just be honest. He's not as
Yes.
smooth. He's very blunt and to the
Mm-hmm.
point, as evident by the scrum. So again, Tony Khan's got to get this fixed. And again, I don't know how you don't realize that you can't do this all on your own, Tony Khan. You got to start getting people in place that you can trust and people in place to help you, because I think that this is one of the paramount problems that, obviously, let's be honest, this is probably not something that just happened. Obviously, it's been brewing for a while with Punk.
Yeah.
It's been brewing for a while. Who's to say that if there wasn't somebody that could step in and say, hey, okay, look, Paige, you can't go out there on that promo and say what you said. It buries Punk. It makes him look bad, blah, 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 blah. And then have somebody to say, hey, look, Punk, we talked to him, blah, 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 blah. Some type of middleman that is not Tony Khan, somebody that they both respect, whomever that may be, because, again, a great person for that job, I feel, is Christopher Daniels. So I'm just going to stick with that. But he would be the example, somebody that Punk knows because he's teamed with him in Ring of Honor. He knows him for a long, long time and respects. And he also has that little bit of that rapport. That's the word I was looking for with Hangman Page. They got to start. Look, the WWE, we oftentimes complain there's too many people backstage. There's not enough in AEW.
Yeah. That's agreed. And I think at some point in time, they're going to go WWE to us as becoming executive vice presidents because they seem to water through them just like candy as far as vice. They've hired 2 more today. So it just really, I don't know what's going on there as far as that, but the base of what the WWE as far as all about with Triple H, Stephanie, Nick Khan, that's been solid throughout this whole situation that's going on. And obviously the direction and creative for WWE is a lot better and a lot brighter now than it has been in a long time. And for AEW, the questions about its, being solid as an organization is now in question. And this is as much as question as its inception. I mean, this is probably the biggest question of its validity going forward than what we've been seeing since it's first started back 3-4 years ago.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Well, it's been very interesting, nonetheless, for you and I to talk about. I said I would get you back on as soon as something came up, and it certainly did. So, John Orlando from the PVD Cast coming in on the fly. I truly appreciate it. You've been immensely knowledgeable for us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos in regards to everything with pro wrestling. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
No, I mean, I think we've talked ad nauseum about what needs to happen. And I'll just say this, it's going to be an interesting few weeks in the world of AEW and maybe even the world of pro wrestling to see how all of this shakes out and see what else comes out in the media about AEW and how they handle things and whatnot.
Absolutely. Could be a very historic time for one reason or another for the pro wrestling industry, indeed. But John Orlando, you've been so tremendous as always. And coming on such short notice, we truly appreciate it. Once again, please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the PVD Cast. It is John Orlando. And we are once again bringing everything to you right as we can here, as only we can